Hello and welcome. It is the World Mission Update. My name is Rusty Humphries. That guy there, he's Greg Kelley. He's the CEO of World Mission. And Greg, at this moment, I'm supposed to be sitting at the Ramses Hilton off of the Nile River, waiting for you to be flying into Egypt for us to do what it is that you do. I want to talk a few minutes about what it is that you do and why you do it. But why am I not relaxing in comfort at the Ramses Hilton right on the shores of the Nile right now?
There's a lot of reasons, Rusty. One of them is that yours truly decided to just go for it and get those antibodies inside of me with COVID. So I did that, and that put me out for 3 weeks.
Any idea how you got? So you got the COVID. Any idea how you got it?
I was around someone who had it, actually, and they gave it to me. I think we visited the ER for a family member, and I'm pretty sure every other person going in there had it, and I think one of them blessed me and passed it on to me. But it was a pretty difficult case of it that I got, but praise the Lord, I didn't have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks later, after dealing with the recovery and the fatigue, I'm back and ready to go.
I don't want to get off, but not everybody got COVID, or maybe what was it like for you?
Well, I can tell you the first week I had excruciating pain in my stomach. Not, I wasn't sick. I wasn't nauseous or that, but it was just pain, like kidney stone pain kind of thing.
Ooh.
And then the last 2 weeks was just fatigue like I've never experienced in my life, just in a perpetual fog. So it got a little bit in my lungs, but not a lot. It was the fatigue just really was overwhelming. So I was asking my wife, am I ever going to feel normal again? It was just kept going.
I mean, do you feel it now? Is it better? Obviously you're here, so it's not.
I've told people I'm 90%. So I feel, energy is back compared to what it was. I feel like $1 million.
Awesome.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So,
but it lasted for how long for you?
What's that?
How long did it last for you?
3 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, got the full dose, but it interrupted our trip, obviously. And then the other thing that was going on in the Middle East is we were going to go in right after Ramadan, which is the Muslim holy month. And so throughout all of North Africa, the Middle East, Muslims are getting together. There's a lot of fellowship, and there was a lot of, because of that gathering together, a lot of spreading of COVID. And so essentially the countries, and some of them we were looking to go into, they indiscriminately changed the rules almost from day to day. And so there was a lot of unpredictability as far as would there be mandatory quarantines, what kind of tests would be required. And there became a big question mark. And because you and I really had to get back in a certain window, we just felt like timing on this one is a little off. We'll postpone it and we'll get back there. But meanwhile, Rusty, right now, there's amazing training going on in Cairo with Christian leaders who have come from throughout all of North Africa and the Middle East. That's really the main thing. That was going to go on whether we were there or not, but that's going on right now, which is incredibly strategic for the gospel.
All right, let's talk a little bit about why you do what you do and what it is that World Mission does. We've been doing this podcast for coming up on 2 years, I think. Exactly. I should check the dates, but sometimes, we forget what it is that we're here for. So what is it that you're here and you're doing, and what's World Mission? What's World Mission's mission?
When we first started, we were talking about the Great Commission so much, which is that's where it starts, Rusty. Jesus' last words. If you go to the Gospel of Matthew, literally the last thing recorded in the Gospel of Matthew is Jesus giving the Great Commission. And essentially the paraphrase of it is he said, go make disciples of all nations. And so that's really, as a Christian, no matter if you're young, old, new in the faith, you've been a Christian for 50 years, there's application for all of us. It's not just those people who are serving at World Mission or are hosting podcasts about it, or who are missionaries to Indonesia or Irian Jaya or anywhere else. No. Those people have their expression of it, but it's different than the rest of us. But we all have to have an expression of it. And the trick of it is, Rusty, is just not enough of the followers of Jesus who would say, I'm a Christian, really are participating. But it gets worse because in Acts, in Acts chapter 1, verse 8, literally the last things out of Jesus' mouth before he goes up in a cloud in their presence. So we're pretty safe to know this is the very last thing Jesus said, the resurrected Jesus. He said, when you receive the Holy Spirit and power, you'll be my witnesses in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and the ends of the earth. And so that takes the Great Commission and it brings context to it. Well, where do we make disciples of all nations? In Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and the ends of the earth. The ends of the earth is the one that, quite honestly, Rusty, we just haven't done a very good job of. And that's where World Mission focuses. That's why we do this podcast. That's who we are championing is the people of the world who don't have access to the gospel. Mm-hmm. That is the mission of World Mission.
I can almost see it now. I'm hanging out with Jesus. He's about to go up, and he's going, to all the nations. What was it? What's the
Jerusalem,
Judea,
Samaria, and the ends of the earth.
So they're all going, okay, he's like going up. Judea, Samaria. Hey, we can do this. And what? And the ends of the earth, too. Oh, come on. Right?
Right, exactly.
Really? Come on. We could have handled the first three.
Rusty, when we think about it, we need a target, right? We need to know what the ends of the earth is. And here's one of the challenges. When we do missions, and think about this, when someone talks about that they're going on a mission trip or they're a missionary, they tell us I'm going on a mission trip or I'm a missionary to the name of the country. Kenya, we talk about a lot. We're going to talk a little bit on this episode. Tanzania, Afghanistan, Guatemala, Haiti. They contextualize it in a country. When Jesus said, make disciples of all nations, he wasn't talking about countries that didn't even exist then. He was talking about
people groups.
That's the word nation, what it means. And so inside, Rusty, of the 195 countries that exist in the world today, exist over 17,000 people groups. Yeah. And so when we're doing missions, we need to have our eyes on the target, which is not country. That gives us a general border, but we need to do a deeper dive and say, what's the condition of the nations inside? Because some nations inside of the same country are 100% Christian, right, while another nation inside of that very country is 0% Christian.
And this is something I never heard of until we started doing, I've been Christian my whole life, but the other nations, I never even thought about what you're talking about. So it is very, very important. We don't have a lot of time in this episode. You wanted to talk a little bit about Kenya. What's in your mind with Kenya? We've been to Kenya. If you've missed the Kenyan shows, you don't want to, go back in the library and check these shows out. They're pretty amazing.
Kenya becomes Exhibit A, the poster child, if you will, of this issue. So you've got one country, and inside of it, 110 nations. And Kenya, from a percentage standpoint, Rusty, is the most evangelical country in the world. And so when they hear Greg Kelley and Rusty talking about unreached people groups, and then they hear us say, and Kenya is the most evangelical in the world, they go, well, why are you working there? I mean, it's a reasonable question.
Yeah.
The answer to that is because Jesus didn't call us to countries. He called us to nations. And so I like to tell people a story to give them a visual of what's going on in missions today. And I'll talk about the Titanic, right? The terrible, maritime disaster where you've got, 2,200 passengers and 1,500 of them, they die, they perish in that accident where they hit the iceberg. So I tell people, imagine that you're a first responder, and imagine that you're coming upon the scene of the Titanic sinking, and you're there to be of assistance and help people. And I ask people, I've said, what would be your response? Do you think your knee-jerk instinctive reaction would be, as you come in on a boat, to go as fast as you can to some of the survivors that are in the lifeboats wearing life jackets and ask them if they need hot chocolate and cookies? Mm-hmm. That would not be your instinctive response. You'd be trying to go as fast as you can to scoop up the people that are in the water. I mean, so many of the people died of hypothermia, those who didn't drown. And so here they are in these freezing waters, a breath away from eternity. You'd be trying to scoop up as many of those. Those are the unreached people groups. Those represent the ends of the earth. And in missions, Rusty, what we're doing is we're rushing over to the lifeboats. We're trying to serve them hot chocolate and cookies. That's what's happening. 99% of all resources, our missionaries, our dollars, our prayers are going to the places of the world that they may be remote. Granted, it may have taken you 18 hours in an airplane and 8 more hours in a Jeep over the most rugged roads you've ever seen in your life.
Been
Granted.
there.
Right? But Jesus has been there.
Right.
So it's not the ends of the earth. And that's the problem. So we need to teach people that we need to be going to these places where the gospel's never been. And in Kenya, that looks like the Somalis. That looks like the Turkana. It looks like the Dashanak, where actually we're doing a water project. And as you know, Rusty, we'll use humanitarians strategically to reach some of these places. And that's what we're doing.
All right, so we have a picture here of a bunch of people. Is that one of the water projects there?
Yeah, that's one of the water projects there. So you can see them, and what it looks like as they're trying to get water. That's like the watering hole, right? So you got animals that are coming in there. You've got mom with babies on their backs, and the babies are drinking that water that the animals are in, that they're bathing in, that they're washing all of their dishes in. They're doing everything filled with bacteria and parasites. And so we are right now in the middle of drilling a water well among a nation, a people group called the Dashanak, that are 2% Christian, right on the border of Kenya and Ethiopia, which this photo is depicting. And we'll be drilling a deep water well there, Rusty, and that will give these people access to clean water. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people will benefit from it. They're animals, because all these people own animals. And that becomes a gateway and a door opening to sharing the gospel, which the treasure is, of course, coming in their native tongue. So those are the kind of projects that we'll do in a place like Kenya, among the unreached areas, to advance and seed the gospel message.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, we got another picture here. It looks like a guy or something in a hole.
Yeah, so they'll because they're so desperate, Rusty, they will try to find water wherever they can. And so what they'll do is they'll go into these dried up riverbeds where the water table's a little bit higher, and they'll go down there and dig with just on their hands and knees, and just trying to gouge out some rocks and some dirt to get to that water. And that water, when it shows up, it's all soupy and dirty, and that's all they have access to. And so, again, it just goes to show you the desperation of people to have the basic necessities of survival, water being a massive thing. World Mission is doing hundreds of water projects around the world to be the hands and feet of Jesus, but ultimately it becomes a door opener so that the gospel and our solar-powered audio Bible in their native tongue gets shared with them.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. And Greg, you guys do amazing work. How do I know? I've seen it personally, and I know that what Greg says they're doing, and I sure hope you'd help out. Now's the time to, it's been a while where we haven't done a new show in a while. You got sick. We had a bunch of things that we've been planning, and the Lord's still speaking through Greg, even through COVID. Even through COVID. So what are you working on now, and what would you like people to help with?
Well, I think if we just use this part of the world as an example, Rusty, there are literally dozens of villages that are in this condition of desperation for water, individual people groups that Jesus died for that are suffering through hardship. We're trying to put more water wells in there. We're trying to get, it takes us about $40 to send one treasures in there. That water project I'm talking about, it's basically the better part of $15,000, very remote, but wow. it benefits hundreds and thousands of people. So those are the kind of projects that we're working on right now. That goes on perpetually, but we can't take everybody there. That's for sure. But it's the equivalent of you being there as you're praying for us and as you're encouraging us through, any maybe even financial support to help us do these kind of projects.
Absolutely. Would you please go to worldmission.cc.com, worldmission.cc. Check out everything that Greg and his great team are doing to make a difference, and you can help them too by going again to worldmission.cc. Greg, wrap it up.
The Dashanak, the Somali, the Borana, probably the first time in your life you've heard of them. But Rusty and I are telling that you have an intimate part of that. Remember, it comes back to what we just shared in the beginning, being obedient and stewarding Jesus' last words well. We would love to connect with you in any way to make that happen. So thanks so much for listening. Share the podcast with your friends and family. We'd love to encourage them, just like hopefully we've encouraged you today.
That's right. Share, subscribe, hit that notification button so you don't miss any new episodes of the World Mission Update. Until next time, I'm Rusty Humphries. That guy, he's Greg Kelley, the CEO of World Mission, and this is the World Mission